Open any app today, and you see the exact same narrative. Early retirement is exclusively reserved for tech founders, crypto winners, or trust fund inheritors. If you don't fit into one of those categories, society tells you to get back in line and keep grinding. Imagine having a completely normal salary. You make between $50,000 and $80,000 a year. You look at your paycheck, you look at rising rent, and the outcome seems fixed. You are looking at 40 years of clocking in until you hit age 65. The numbers suggest something different. Retiring early is a mechanical outcome of a system, not a byproduct of a massive salary. When you look at the data, the reliance on a high income starts to look like a distraction. Believing that financial freedom requires a six-figure salary is the specific psychological trap that keeps average earners in the workforce. If you think a massive income is the only way out, you will likely never escape the 9-to-5 cycle. This is the early retirement equation. It is a closed system driven by three specific variables: your income, your expenses, and time. Every financial outcome you experience is dictated by how these three nodes interact. Most people spend their entire lives trying to move the first variable. For this plan, we are freezing your income at a constant, average salary of $60,000 a year. You aren't getting a promotion or starting a business. By forcing income to remain a constant, we see the actual levers of the system. The only way to move your retirement date is through the radical manipulation of your expenses. Exiting the workforce decades ahead of schedule strictly depends on how you manipulate the variables remaining under your direct control. Before you can deploy any strategy, you need a concrete mathematical finish line. You have to know the exact dollar amount that allows you to walk away from your job forever. This is the 25x rule. Achieving financial independence requires saving 25 times your annual living expenses. If you spend $60,000 a year, you need $1.5 million. Watch what happens when you reduce your spending. If you optimize to live on $36,000 a year, that smaller base block collapses the total mountain to $900,000. The mainstream focus is on accumulating millions of dollars. But for an average earner, the realistic path is to save for a lean, optimized lifestyle, which brings that goal within reach. Every dollar you permanently remove from your daily expenses serves two functions. It puts cash in your pocket today, and it pulls the retirement finish line years closer to the present. Now we apply that savings rate to the engine of compounding returns. We are still assuming that locked $60,000 salary. If you follow the standard advice and save 15% of your income, this baseline shows you will reach financial independence at age 65. That is the traditional 40-year career. If you push that savings rate to 25%, the trajectory steepens. The timeline pulls backward, allowing you to retire by age 55. You have reclaimed 10 years of your life. If you embrace a 40% savings rate, the line arcs aggressively. The compound interest takes over the heavy lifting, and the math shows you can walk away at age 45. This combination of a high savings rate and compounding returns dictates your timeline. You are converting today's lower expenses into 20 years of freedom you didn't have before. How does an average earner practically force a 40% savings rate? On a $60,000 salary, that means living on exactly $36,000 a year. You do it by auditing and slashing your three largest expenses: housing, transport, and food. You drive a reliable 10-year-old car. You split rent or live in a smaller space. You stop paying for the convenience of someone else preparing your meals. Next, you automate the system. The moment your paycheck hits, 40% is routed away and deployed into low-cost index funds. This eliminates the chance for you to spend that money before it can grow. You must also guard against lifestyle creep. When you eventually get a raise or a bonus, that money cannot go toward a better car or a nicer apartment. If you increase your spending, you destroy the mathematical advantage you just built. Executing these levers requires shifting your mindset. You are no longer a passive consumer. You are a mechanical administrator of your own capital. The data shows how this timeline functions, yet despite the clarity of the numbers, this path remains rare. On the left, we see the societal pressure to appear wealthy. Financing a luxury SUV and designer goods results in zero net worth. On the right is the reality of financial independence, a modest lifestyle built on a foundation of invested capital. Early retirement on a normal salary requires a willingness to live visibly differently than your peers. You are prioritizing future time over current status. On an average income, you must have the discipline to save like someone who is already wealthy. While others spend their raises on status symbols, you are purchasing your freedom. Many people say they want to retire early, but they refuse to make the required social sacrifices. They fail the equation not because the math is broken, but because they prioritize their ego over the arithmetic. Your immediate 6-month action plan is to audit your bank statements. You must identify every non-essential expense and remove it until your savings rate moves toward that 40% target. Over a 5-year horizon, your job is simply to maintain the automation. As this chart shows, your personal contributions remain steady, while the compound interest begins to take over the growth of your wealth. This path is harder and slower than the get-rich-quick schemes sold online. There are no shortcuts here, only consistency. The system provides a predictable outcome. If you follow the variables, the result is certain. The math does not care about your coworkers' opinions or the latest consumer trends. You might not control your starting salary, but you have control over the levers that guarantee your exit from the system. Audit your life, automate your savings, and let the numbers work. Drop a comment below with the one expense you're cutting today to buy back your future.